After she died, then I gained a really heavy drinking problem. I didn't give a shit about anything. And so that's what brought me into serious amounts of drinking. And then I got in, and then a year after my mom died, my partner had a heart attack, 28 years old.
Wow.
Yep. And she, no one could figure it out because she was fairly healthy. I was the crazy one. She had her shit in check. And, but yeah, she had a heart attack. So she moved to Thailand, or not moved, she went to Thailand to do a retreat and to heal herself. And during her leave, I ended up getting arrested and getting a DUI. And yep, I had all sorts of things on me and everything else. And yeah, I got taken to jail and while she was in Thailand. And so at that point I knew that get to Thailand, shit hit the fan, absolutely hit the fan. And this is where I fell into a very deep state of depression.
Okay, I'm here again with another healing story. This one is from a rather wonderful chap called Stephen Whitney, who is a master Soma instructor, a teacher trainer within the Soma organization. Like all the other healing stories, I don't know his story, so I will be just as intrigued as you are to hear this. Stephen, if you could just introduce yourself, and we'll open up on your story, your healing story. So, Stephen, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction. And yeah, it's really, it's amazing to be here. So it's amazing how when I opened up a new chapter of my life into health and wellness and kind of biohacking the body and the mind and finding that aligned state, how all of a sudden these stories that I never ever heard of all of a sudden started to come to surface. And it's amazing what people are really capable of doing. So I really appreciate you for putting together this series, because I think this is something that is so needed in the world right now, is for other people to know that they too can achieve great things, not only in their success, their business, their financial, their relationship, but also just individually and internally themselves, being able to reach that maximum state and in turn being able to heal themselves. So a big up to you as well, David. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, let's hear it then. And you're absolutely right. I mean, actually, since in a similar way, going down this path, you know, the more I put that question out there, who's got a healing story, and the more you start to hear these interesting backgrounds of people, it reminds you of the fact that these natural methods, whatever they may be it Soma breath or various others, are absolute, definitive practices that really can heal the body. The body, it just needs a little bit of a nudge in the right direction quite often. It's perfectly capable of healing itself from various different conditions. Anyway, so let's hear yours, sir.
Holy cow. Okay, are you sitting down?
Yeah. Is it a big one?
Yeah. And it's got, I mean, I'll simplify it to a degree.
Okay.
But yeah, and it's got a lot of twists and turns. And so it starts off very, very standard in a lot of ways. I was a young entrepreneur. I lived in Denver, Colorado. I think I was 24 years old when I started a business. And I started a business as a building engineer. And so corporate America, I was dealing with some of the largest commercial development companies in the state of Colorado. And also now their portfolio has expanded all over the world as one of the leading commercial real estate companies. But I worked my butt off. I trained and taught myself how to be a building engineer rather than going through the conventional schooling system. I got lucky, landed the contract, and that is what catapulted me into corporate America. So dealing with a lot of protocols, standards, and rules and regulations and, you know, things that I had to follow. And I was a single guy, single business owner with no employees, and I had to prove myself. So I worked my butt off for what ended up being about 6 years. And through that, I already was quite a partier. I grew up in a party area, one of the biggest recreational lakes in America. And then when I got into corporate and started being in that realm, I was dealing with super high levels of stress, working 14, 16 hours a day. There were times I would go to the office at 2 o'clock in the morning and just not being able to sleep. And then the drinking started to increase. Excuse me. And I formed a very heavy drinking problem. And I was doing drugs on the weekend, lots of cocaine. I never got into pharmaceuticals or pills, but a lot of booze and a lot of cocaine and drugs of that nature. So next thing you know, I am making really good money. I have a penthouse apartment, a big truck, lots of toys. I did basically anything I wanted. I was living what I thought was the dream. Drank really good liquors and scotches. I had a really cool bar cabinet in my penthouse apartment on the rooftop. And yeah, and that was the lifestyle I lived. But I also ended up gaining a lot of weight. I weighed almost 200 pounds. I think I was at 185 pounds. I think I'm 145 at my actual prime weight. So wow. It was a lot of heavy weight. Yeah. And I was very unhealthy, very unhealthy. I ate whatever I wanted, did whatever I wanted with no regard to my health whatsoever. And it got to a point where I started to be aware that this was going way too far. And I was not showing up to the office. I was dipping out of work. It was drinking about 5 to 6 days out of the week. And probably 3 of the days out of the week, I was staying up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, doing drugs with other people, and then going back to the office. So it was very, very unhealthy lifestyle. And the turn of events that happened that brought me into finding out more about healing is actually quite interesting, because my mother had diabetes. And unfortunately, I can't go super deep into the explanation of this scenario due to some other circumstances that I'm bound to. But she died very spontaneously. So she got cleared from the doctor's office, and a week later we found her unconscious, and a week after that she died. Wow. And so again, I won't go into the details on how that was generated, but you could probably paint a little story yourself. And she had just changed her her routine and the medicines that she was taking that left her with, a decent amount of health that got changed. And then this occurrence happened. So it was very spontaneous. I was one of my best friends. I love that woman dearly. She did everything for me and everything that she could, and for our family. So,
yeah.
So now I had a reason. No, I appreciate it. I really do. But it happened for a reason. And just like you and I were talking before we went live on this about how sometimes you have to go through a little bit of pain to experience something personally yourself, because then it becomes really embodied. It changes the experiences when you go through it yourself. It changes how you view that. And so what I later found out is this happened for a reason. And this was her divine leaving. It was actually all in divine order that she left, was actually to push me in a certain direction, because I was going the opposite direction. So anyway, after she died, then I gained a really heavy drinking problem. I didn't give a shit about anything. And so that's what brought me into serious amounts of drinking. And then I got in, and then a year after my mom died, my partner had a heart attack, 28 years old.
Wow.
Yep. And she, no one could figure it out because she was fairly healthy. I was the crazy one. She had her shit in check. And, but yeah, she had a heart attack. So she moved to Thailand, or not moved. She went to Thailand to do a retreat and to heal herself, which is actually the same place that I'm living now. And during her leave, I ended up getting arrested and getting a DUI. And yep, I had all sorts of things on me and everything else. And yeah, I got taken to jail, and while she was in Thailand. And so at that point, I knew that some big shifts needed to happen. So an interesting story in regards to that is that at that point, I was forced to quit drinking. I didn't have a choice. I had regular check-ins while we were waiting for my court date to get finalized and the sentence to get finalized and all this stuff. So I was under a sobriety check to make sure that I was sober. And so that actually ended up being very easy. It was almost like it was a natural state for me, but I had just gone off in the wrong direction. And anyway, so she comes back and tells me, Stephen, I want to move to Thailand. I want to continue my healing in Thailand. And I said, sweetheart, I can't go. I'm going to get sentenced with a DUI, and I can't leave the country. And so at that point, she helped me to tune in with my mother and with myself. And I prayed to my mom every day please let me get out of this. Help me to get through this. I swear I'll do good things. I won't. It actually brings emotion up just even talking about it, because it was this like pure and complete conviction. And this is something I'll talk about later, but this conviction that I was like, I swear in every cell of my being that I will make a change, I will make a difference, and I will do positive things with my life if you can just help me get out of this. And so this went on for about 3 months, almost 4 months. And the case kept getting dismissed, or not dismissed, but kept getting prolonged and prolonged. And it was starting to not look good. And when push came to shove, I went to the final court date, and they didn't have enough evidence that I was actually driving. I won't tell you the story on that, but I had gotten my truck stuck in the woods, and the police came to help get my truck out. They smelled booze on me and arrested me, but never saw me driving. And so there was no proof that I had ever been drinking. And so, and I won't say if I was or if I wasn't, that's still undetermined. But anyway, either way, so my case got dismissed. DUI completely dropped. Everything completely dropped. And we had actually sold all of our things with the trust and belief that it was going to work out in my favor. And so that was one of the first moments that I had a glimpse into spirituality, into the belief of our ability to create our reality, and that we can do things that are bigger and beyond what we even know is possible and capable as individuals. And so that's what happened. We moved to Thailand about 2 weeks after the case got dismissed. We were on a plane to Thailand, had already sold all of our things. And so I was excited. I was 5 months sober. I was in flow. I got back in the gym, lost all the weight. I was in the best shape of my life. I was happy. I was healthy. I was on it. I became vegetarian, the whole 9 yards. I get to Thailand, shit hit the fan. Absolutely hit the fan. And this is where I fell into a very deep state of depression. Very, very deep state. And I was training in yoga. I went through a 30-day intensive, every day, 12 hours a day, 30 days straight, yoga intensive training, and in vinyasa flow. I'm training in meditation, Buddhism, energy work, qigong, biohacking tools, the entire body, fitness, everything. I spent tens of thousands of dollars because I had saved up a bit of money from my business. And everything, it was getting worse every single day. It got worse and worse and worse. And I was blown away. And I lost my faith. I lost my faith in spirituality. I lost my faith in humanity. And I started to learn about past lives and reincarnations and things like that. And that thought started to come into my mind. And through my 6-month depression, towards the last 2 months, I started having suicidal thoughts. And so I was just having glimpses of turning my bike into oncoming traffic, accidentally walking off of this ledge, or things like that. And it scared the shit out of me because it's not what I wanted, not even close. And so at this point I had lost hope, and things were getting dark, and I didn't know what to do. And my partner had tried everything. Everyone had tried everything, and nothing was working. I had done Akashic record readings where they connected me with my lineage and ancestral past. And I mean, some really spiritual and kind of woo-woo things just to try it. And this is actually where my healing really, really, really began. So I went to an event on the small island in Thailand, and I wasn't planning on going to the event. I was there for dinner, and the dinner got canceled, and my friend and my partner made me go to this event. And it was called a multi-sensory meditation experience. And it was on a big screen TV, like in a theater, you know? In Thailand, we don't have theaters on this small island. It's like a big screen, projector with like cushions and pillows and things like that.
Nice. I'm envious already.
Yeah, right. And so I didn't want to go. I was kicking and screaming. I said, I don't want to do this multi-sensory. I want to take some psilocybin. I want to take it to the next level, a deep experience. And I want to heal myself, because I've been doing psilocybin as forms of healing and ways to try and release and handle my depression. And so I was like, no, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it to the max. And they were like, sorry, we don't have time. It starts in 10 minutes. And I was like, all right. So I stayed there, and I was super upset, super mad, and to be there. And next thing you know, a fine gentleman walks out of the room to introduce the session, and it happens to be the founder of Soma Breath. And So I'm listening to this story, and then one person in the group nudges me and says, hey, if you're interested in taking this experience to the next level, I happen to have some psilocybin and some cannabis as well that could enhance this experience. And I just was like, you've got to be kidding me. No way. And so that's what happened. I went in and did this. It was a breathwork ceremony. It was about 2.5 hours, a deep soma breathing ceremony. And from this guy, I took some psilocybin and a little bit of cannabis, and I went into this experience and gave it a shot. And in that moment, right then and there, my entire life changed. My entire life changed. I saw a glimmer of light that I had never seen before and within myself. And that was enough to give me the energy to say, you know, maybe I can make a shift. Maybe I can change myself. Maybe I can heal myself in this state. And so what went from me beating, bats to a tree to get rid of my anger, for me screaming and crying on the floor like a child. I mean, I was bipolar. One day I was happy. The other day I was bedridden, bawling my eyes out. The next day I'm throwing my scooter down a hill. And I'm not even kidding. This is like crazy, crazy stuff. And so sure enough, that little glimmer of light changed my life. And that's what propelled me into going deeper into Soma. And it wasn't 2 weeks after that Soma launched their very first teacher training retreat that I joined. And my life has ever evolved. 3 years later, now I couldn't be healthier. I couldn't be happier. I'm helping other people. I am heading the Soma instructor training program, training instructors to teach other instructors, and really being deeply involved in this movement of people reaching that full potential. And so even after I met Soma and started doing that as a daily practice, that journey wasn't so easy either, because I had a lot of lingering negativity inside. But it was, that's what propelled me into that new reality. And with the support of a community and a tribe and a regular breathing practice and different mindset changes, my life transformed. And I'm just living proof that you can literally change your life completely. And so I wake up inspired every day, and, and I'm excited to live life rather than having thoughts of ending it. So anyone out there, a little side note, anyone out there that's dealing with anything, please know that you can get through it. And that is not the result, or not the thing that you need to do to change your life, is to end it. You can do other things that have an ending result that is much more enjoyable.
What a story. That's incredible. It's funny, isn't it? Because the easiest thing we can do when we're down is to self-medicate, because the tools that big corporates have given us via alcohol or whatever it might be, we've got all of these different things that we can just immediately turn to. I feel shit, therefore, boom. Oh, I feel better, kind of. It's that kind of, and so it's easy. That's the easiest thing anybody can do. And it's almost a justifiable thing, because it's a simple reaction of, I feel bad, here's something that will make me feel better. But to go to that next level, sometimes we need to hit that rock bottom low to understand that if we want to cure ourselves fully, we need to go deeper within, and we need to explore other modalities, other practices. Because that self-medication of alcohol or drugs is really a bit like Western medicine in some respects, in the sense that it's putting a plaster on the issue rather than looking holistically at where the problem lies. What I'm interested in, though, is that one initial session, that 2-hour Soma breath session. I wonder, why was it that created the shift? Was it something to do with the other practices that you were embarking on, all of which could have been the answer? Was it because they came with force? In other words, you were trying to force those to heal you, and the Soma breath wasn't that. It was kind of I'm just going to let it happen. Or do you think something else happened? Was there something else about Soma breaths specifically that caused the shift?
Hold on, I need to turn on this fan. There we go. I think it's actually a combination of the both. And what a wise question. That's a very intelligent question, by the way.
Thank you.
And I do.
It won't happen again.
Outstanding. Yeah, you got the one. There you go. I think it's a combination of the two, because I hold a lot of respect and value for all different modalities. And I think that it doesn't matter if I tell you something right now, and then in a week, someone else tells you the exact same thing, you're going to react differently from me telling it to you than someone else. And you might really resonate with that moment that that other person said it to you, and you didn't resonate with you at all. It didn't make sense when I spoke it to you. And so it's all about the alignment of timing and when we're supposed to embody that information. And which actually ties into the forcing of things. When we're trying to be successful, we're trying to change, we're trying to heal. That's an interesting energy field in itself. And I have kind of a saying that I use in myself and my own and my clients is basically the law of the universe is you get what you emit out. And this is where there's a break in the chain in regards to like manifestation or creating your reality. I want this. I want love. I want a partner. I want money. I want business. I want happiness. I want health. Okay, well, what does that imply? What kind of emission are you putting out? And that's I want. Okay, so if that is what you're emitting out, that's what you're going to get back. So what are you getting back? You're getting back I want, which is not I have. Yeah. And this is where the difference is. And so visualizing it as if you have it. And so when I was forcing myself to do yoga, to do meditation, I was emitting out that I didn't already have that ability. I needed those things to heal. And therefore I had no belief that I could heal. The yoga was going to heal me. The meditation was going to heal me. The energy work was going to heal me. The therapists were going to heal me. And that's the difference between people that go through actual healings and don't. Yeah. And so I would be a liar to say that those things weren't leading up to that moment in experience. I think they all tied in together. And I think it's very wise what you said, because I think you're right to a certain degree that I wasn't actually embodying the healing process, but rather looking for that immediate fix because I'd been drinking for so long. That is an immediate fix. You can pound a couple of drinks and you're immediately changed. Your consciousness has changed. Your body has changed. The chemistry has changed. Everything has changed. That's immediate. Mm. And that's what I had ingrained deep into my subconscious mind, is that was the kind of change that I wanted to happen or I expected to happen. And that is what stunted the healing process and why it became so challenging.
2 seconds. Hang on a sec. I'm just saying goodbye to my son. Hang on. Bye, Logs.
Daddy?
Yes?
Did he hear you?
Yes, he can hear you, yeah. This is Stephen.
Oh, that's too cute.
He's a dude.
Too cute.
See you later. So, sorry, yes. Back to you.
Yeah, but so on the other side, though, this goes back to what we were talking about before we went live, is I later found out through meditation and pranayama, reaching that deep state of meditation where I'm able to receive insights and information and guidance. And I'm very close with my mother's spirit. And not in the woo-woo sense. I mean, we all know somebody that's passed away close to us, and you can feel their guidance. You can hear that voice and that intuition of what, you know, they're guiding you to do. And so I surrendered into that guidance, and she guides me along my path and my journey in life. And so after I had really gone through some healing and got myself back into my balanced state, I was tuning in, and this random, not even on purpose, this was completely random. This insight comes through that was actually part of my path, was that I needed to go through those things because I was going to evolve into a speaker, into a teacher, into somebody that was able to show people that there are ways to take things beyond what they think is possible. And so the only way for me to truly be able to do that was to experience it myself, because I had never felt like that before in my life. And even when I was drinking all the time, I mean, yeah, I was stressed out and unhealthy, but never had I been that, down. And then I was sober for 5 months, and then I became deeply depressed. It didn't make sense. A part of it still, like even to this day, well, it makes sense now, but for a long time, it didn't make sense. The equation didn't add up. Why? Why in the world would that happen? I'm on this beautiful island, training in these things, eating healthy. I'm happy. I've got some money in the bank to supply myself for a bit. Like I was okay. And so I got that guidance that the only way for me to teach from a place of truth was to actually go through the experience. Because I needed to go through that pain so that when I speak with somebody that's going through that same pain, I'm not reading from a book. I'm not reading because a coach taught me how to deal with trauma. No, fuck that. I dealt with trauma myself and had to do it myself because all the other methods weren't working.
Yeah.
And so that form of empowerment, I think, just had to happen. So
Yeah.
I think both sides of it were valuable.
You also had to get over the whole idea, because everybody does, especially, but even more so now than ever, we have to get over the idea that there is a quick fix. There is no quick fix for anything like this. We're taught that pharmaceuticals, you know, as we grow up, we're taught that you can turn to a pharmaceutical to give you a quick fix. We are taught that by turning on a piece of technology, it will offer a solution to a problem that you have. One of the things that I find when people are posing questions on my YouTube channel is that they'll often ask me very specific questions about how to do things with the assumption that if I give them that very specific answer, their problem will be solved tomorrow. And I have to keep reminding people that none of this will be a quick fix. You will feel good from doing many of these practices, especially breath work. You know, you can change your state very, very quickly, but it's not a long-term solution. It's something that you then have to think, okay, that worked then. Now, how do I go about my life with intention, using breath work, using various other modalities in order to change my state deep within? Because breath work is an amazing tool. Other modalities are amazing tools. They will give you this very quick change of state, won't they? They will turn on different neurochemicals that make you feel better in that moment. But as you've discovered, if you decide, okay, breathwork seems to be a good thing for me, but I'm still going to continue in the job that I dislike, then lo and behold, you're probably going to still experience those periods of stress, anxiety, overwhelm. So I love your journey. You've had to figure it out the hard way, but in some respects, that's what's helped you to get to where you are now. Let's say then, and you gave a bit of advice earlier, let's say somebody watching this right now is going through a bit of poo, you know, they're getting to the depths that you did, where you start to pose questions about your life, maybe even ending your life. What advice would you give to them right now, other than there is another solution? What is there a kind of a staged process that you could advise?
Yeah, each person is unique. And this is another thing that you hear from a lot of fitness trainers, nutritionists, a lot of coaches that have just learned from another coach. Here's the protocol to follow. Here's a template to follow. I'm not saying anything bad about any of them, by no means. Everyone has wonderful intentions. But the thing is that there is no one size fits all. Everybody is different, but we're also the same in many, many ways. So to really give a clear explanation or kind of movement forward, I would actually be lying, you know, because what's going to work for one person isn't the other. Now, there is something that I think is valuable to share, and that is in the regards of, and it's really back to what you just said, is if you're not feeling at your best and you get into this mindset that I need to heal, I am not well, that is very, very dangerous. So one, if you aren't feeling at your best and you want to start exploring into these things, one is you need to shift your mindset from that you are not unwell, that you are not wrong, you're not necessarily completely different and the only one dealing with this, but you're doing this just to expand this human experience, that you believe that there is something more. You believe, and you need to believe this with complete conviction, because otherwise what you're going to do is you're going to try things, but you're looking for the bad in them. You're looking at why the breath work's not working, why the yoga routine isn't working, or why you don't do it well, why you can't meditate. And all this is doing is creating a negative loop in itself. And this is really, really dangerous in a way. And one thing that I have found through this is that there came a time that I left Thailand and went back to America, and I couldn't handle it. I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. And so I came back to Thailand and did more training. And then I went back to America again, and I was completely in my element, in a total complete flow state. And the thing was is that I had stopped doing breath work like very, very religiously, like almost every single day. I was traveling a lot, so I wasn't doing much breathing, and like wasn't doing much yoga or fitness. And I was just in my flow state. What happened is I realized that my default setting had changed, and that I no longer was reliant, I never ever need to be reliant on breath work, on yoga, on meditation. And the point that I'm trying to make here is anyone that is feeling down or even depressed, or you're dealing with high levels of stress, anxiety, or you even have a chronic illness or autoimmune disease, okay, the thing to remember is that your natural state is healthy, happy, joyful, powerful, creative, in love. And that is what I've realized is you don't need these things. If we treat holistic approaches and Ayurvedic approaches as a pharmaceutical drug, a pill, okay, this is going to make me happy. This is going to make me flexible. This is going to bring me joy. Then guess what? When you remove those things, it all crumbles down. It all crumbles down. So if you can really focus on the fact that you are naturally, from your genetic DNA state, you are naturally harmonious, joyful, in love, creative, everything. This can really shift everything for you. It really, really can. And this is something that's really important to take with you when you do these methods and routines. And another thing is to start small. Don't go into trying to do 1 hour breathwork sessions every day, doing a 1 hour yoga routine. And this is the other like interesting misconception that I have found through my travels in different religions and origins around the world, is that in America and in, the Western mindset is meditate for an hour. You need to be able to meditate for an hour. I mean, seriously, anyone watching this, you've heard this story. If you can meditate for an hour, then you have achieved something. That's bullocks. It's absolute bullshit. It really, really is. What about if, like, one of my favorite forms of meditation is driving. I don't turn on any music, and I just think. I go and hit back roads on my motorbike, and I meditate. I think about the things that are happening. And I'm not encouraging anyone to go drive and be very, off thinking about something else, but I'm doing it in a controlled environment on a road with no traffic and anything like that. So please be careful. But what I'm saying is eating is a meditation. Sleeping is a meditation. Playing a sport is a meditation. Cooking your food is a meditation. Playing with your friends is a meditation. Going to the pub and having a brew with your friend is a form of meditation. But it's only how you view and what you're doing. If you're doing it with intention, if you're doing it from love, from excitement, with the intention to not suppress your feelings and emotions, but to have an expansive conversation, to have a life experience that is full of joy and excitement. If you have that intention, then the things that you do will elevate you in your life, regardless of what they are. So don't think that these certain holistic approaches are what's going to fix and heal everything. You can have the same intention and the same results, now to a certain degree, even doing things that we think are negative. Okay. And this kind of actually, you guys research some Bruce Lipton and the power of intention and belief. This is really where a lot of it comes from. Even if you're eating food with chemicals in it, well, your body is designed to break down and to remove that waste and those chemicals. But if you are like, oh my God, this is not organic. Oh, I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna get cancer. Well, guess what? Your body is now in a contracted state, and you are not able to process that. The
Yeah.
same thing comes with your emotional state. So find things that you enjoy doing. Do those.
I am a big believer in all of that, actually. And I'm doing another course at the moment. We're talking about transient hyperfrontality, where it's in order to be in a flow state, you need to switch off the prefrontal cortex. That's when the rest of the brain has a chance to light up the other areas that you need to be in that flow state. And so therefore, hence why sports people, when they're in a good game, when they're running the race, they have a flow state, because the transient hyperfrontality, the PFC, prefrontal cortex, shuts off. So as you say, it could happen when you're driving. It could happen when you're eating. Doesn't matter what you're doing. It's when you have this intention and focus on the thing at hand. And I am totally with you. I think, especially with all of these different practices that thankfully are now well known. I mean, you know, we have to be thankful for the likes of Wim Hof and various others, Niraj, for putting the word out there about breath work. But the problem is, as you say, we have this condition, this mindset that, oh, this will sort me out, this will cure me. And then once we start doing it and we realize that it works and it's brilliant, we then, and I fall into this trap. You build into a routine in your day that you stick to, and it's very rigid and strict. Then you realize that that's not the answer. You don't have to, as you say, you don't have to do that every day, but it's how you engage in life. And I think also it's how you engage using your senses. One of the things that I keep hearing from people in the corporate world is they come into their home office because everybody's working from home. They plug in, they robotize themselves. Hours later, they suddenly realize they haven't moved. So no wonder they're feeling terrible. No wonder their body is getting close to, pulmonary embolism or deep vein thrombosis. It's no wonder. However, if you go into your home office, plug yourself in, remind yourself every 40 minutes that you need to get away, engage in one of your senses. Could be auditory, could be kinesthetic, it could be sensosomatic, going outside, touching the trees in the woods. Doesn't matter what it is, just keep engaging those bits of your body which are natural aspects of what you should be using to engage in life. Before we had technology, before we had these simple solutions that are meant to make our lives easier, a man, if we go back to hunter-gatherer days, would typically engage in the earth by going out and trying to find food, would be with his fellow male friends and socializing naturally. These are the kind of the natural ways to move about life that we've kind of lost now, haven't we? And so hence why, and you can understand why people look for these quick solutions in order to feel better. But all we have to do is go back really to making sure we use the body that we have to engage in the world that's around us in the right way, making use of these senses. So I'm totally
nailed
with you.
it, man. You nailed it. And that's also like, that's why it's recommended to have a daily practice, whether it's breathing, pranayama, yoga, meditation, because you guys have to think about how much conditioning we have. And the body works off of rhythms and routines. It accustoms to the routines that we do. So it's good to create a new routine and stick to it to actually see the body be able to, and the mind to have the changes that you're trying to implicate. So I'm not saying don't do something every day, but it doesn't need to be so military where you have to meditate every morning, this and that. And the other thing is, I love what you said. I mean, I feel like we're really on the same page with this, because this is also why it is that I resonate with Soma Breath so much. And for anyone that's feeling, dealing with depression or anxiety, or even just wanting a more deep human experience, that's why it's so powerful, because it's not just breathing. What we do is we create visualizations, guided mental imagery. So now we're exercising more parts of our brain. Okay, we're firing, creating new neural pathways with just the form of visualization. But then what happens is, through that visualization, you create a feeling. And now you're engaging your senses. And then the breathing has an ability to actually elevate that feeling, to expand it, to enhance it on a cellular level. So what you do is you create a positive mindset. Okay, great. It doesn't really do much if it stays in the mind. But then you generate a feeling, and now you're messing with the chemistry. Now you're starting to get out of that low vibration, that darkness, that pain, that anger, blah, blah, blah. blah. And you start to find joy. You start to find inspiration. And then you breathe to that and you elevate it, you charge it up. And this is why people have such massive shifts, is because the senses are vital. And it's so important that we connect the mind to the body. And this is how people see massive changes in their lives. It's because it's very, very simple. We need to engage the mind, the feelings, the body, elevate it, and move on. And that's, I feel like, merging many modalities into one and really getting rid of all of the other things you need to do. And that's why I think it's so powerful with Soma. But you saying the different senses to be triggered, I think this is actually one of the biggest ways and fastest ways to get out of a low vibrational state, is create a thought, generate a feeling, expand that feeling, and you will see magical things happen.
Definitely. I think that's good. I mean, that was a great story. I loved your insight towards the end there. Is there anything else that you think you might want to pass on? There doesn't have to be, by the way, but is there anything else that you feel like saying or passing on to others?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's like, I think what's happening in the world right now is a chance for people to wake up. How do you want to live your life? And if it's going through the routines that you are now, then I support you. But if you feel that there is something more, if you feel called to do something, remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are communities, there are tribes, there are people that are combining their intelligence to make impacts in the world. And we have no idea how this world is going to, how it's going to go over the course of the next months, years. And so I find inspiration myself with being in that healthy, happy state, trying to do the best that I can to enjoy this experience. So that to me is a form of awakening. And so I want you guys to just ask yourself that question. Are you truly happy? Do you love what you do every single day? And are you sharing that joy with others, even if that's just somebody you run into at the coffee shop? You don't need to be a teacher or a coach, just a human being. But are you living this life experience out the way that you truly want to? And if the answer is no, and you choose to make that decision, then I respect you. And if it's the answer is no, and you want to do something else, then I encourage you to not feel like you need to do it alone, but to do it together. There's strength in numbers. And that sense of connection is very powerful and can be actually the missing link in your own transformation, is the support of community and others. So just ask yourself that simple question. Are you truly happy? Are you living out the life that you want? If not, it's okay. But you can make that shift. All you have to do is just start going towards it. So I believe in you.
That is a really good passing statement there, especially around finding a tribe. If you think about what we, again, going back to what we are meant to be doing as humans, and I love what you're doing because you have a community there, being amongst fellow people that are on the same page and trying to achieve the same thing. There's a big reason why these online groups have grown significantly, and people are constantly seeking out these groups, tribes to be a part of, because they want to feel the thing that's lost by being, especially in the Western world. We're worse really than many other countries, but we hide behind our bricks and mortar buildings. We go to work with a mask on. We're not engaging properly with other human beings, and that's why these online groups are really useful. Find a good group or tribe, but it's got to be one that resonates with you. And if you experience one that just doesn't quite fit, find another. There's so many out there. It's a shame we can't meet physically at the moment, but just having a chance to speak with others that are on a similar path really does help. So, Stephen, thank you. I really appreciate your time. An incredible story. I know it will resonate with many, and I hope it gives hope as well to others that might be going through a bit of poo at the moment.
Absolutely. I hope so.
Thank you, my friend. That was really, really cool.